6 missing tunes in a month and not one clue.
Oh, no!
We can see what we can find out and then pass it along to the officer. That's all we're gonna do.
So you're saying the Rescue Rangers are back?
Yes!
ChipNDale Rescue Rangers is based off the 90s Disney cartoon and is directed by the Lonely Island's Akiva Schaffer and takes place 30 years after the popular show was cancelled, where the iconic Disney duo must reunite after a friend from the original series mysteriously disappears. I remember when I was little, Chip and Dale were actually some of my favorite Disney characters. I don't know why, but it's probably because they just have this fun charm to them, between their high-pitched gibberish arguing or mischievous nature. Heck, I even remember seeing some reruns of the original show at a young age. So of course I was in utter shock and confusion when Disney announced they would begin the live-action treatment.
Is this how you get your sick kicks?
What? It's just an ordinary Krabby. Oh my goodness!
As I've said before in a previous video, I am not a fan of the live-action reboots Disney has been doing, and the cameo-infused Space Jam-style trailers didn't exactly help anything either. And I'm not sure how many of you are ready to hear this, but ChipNDale Rescue Rangers is unironically a really fun movie. Like, I'm legitimately shocked how well this film turned out. There seemed to be a real sense of passion coming from the film when compared to every other cameo stuff film of the past decade, where the world of the film is built as a version of Los Angeles where cartoons and humans coexist, and all the IP cameos fit in naturally to the story, similar to that of Roger Rabbit, rather than feeling like they were shoehorned in for commercial or fan service reasons. You could tell the people who made this film have a love for animation and want to pay tribute to the medium and its recent and nostalgic history. And this is further displayed through the visuals and animation in the film. There is an endless amount of styles, and the whole visual presentation of the movie has a great amount of creativity going for it. There's definitely a ton of animation styles to point out and talk about, but I'm not going to mention them because they are best experiencing going in blind. However, there is one style that stands out in all the wrong ways. There was something about the 2D animation that looked off throughout the film, which seemed to be due to a low budget. The film's story also has a meta nature to it. The movie isn't afraid to acknowledge and even call out the unoriginal and safe decisions Hollywood studios, including Disney themselves, have been making over the last few years. And while the execution of this can be heavy-handed and unsubtle, it's a fun jab at the modern film industry nonetheless. The humor was also surprisingly great. I found myself laughing out loud at multiple points. There's a ton of great referential humor and a couple of absurd moments that land well, although there are a couple of clunkers every now and then, but nothing too cringeworthy or awful overall. I was also surprised by how well casted the film was. While the voices for Chip and Dale were weird at first, it didn't take too long for me to get used to them and accept that this is an adaptation of the characters, rather than the classic chipmunks we've come to know, similar to the recent DuckTales reboot. I found Andy Samberg to be a great fit as Dale, with the dopey but sympathetic charm he brings to the role. But on the other hand, while John Mulaney wasn't bad as Chip, there were a few deliveries from him that felt off and could have used an extra take or two. Kiki Layne had a fun performance even if her character wasn't anything special from a writing perspective, although she did have this tragic incident from her past that might have been the funniest gag of the film. You'll know what I mean when you see it. J.K. Simmons was a perfect fit as Captain Putty. Seth Rogen was shockingly funny as Bob. Will Arnett had a really fun take with his villain Sweet Pete. Eric Bana did a great new take on Monterey Jack that captured the character well. And it was really nice to see Tress MacNeille and Corey Burton return as Zipper and Gadget, even if they're barely in the film, which is a shame because more of them would have been welcome with how important to the story the other three Rangers are. Then there's Mr. Javelin Man himself, Flula Borg. Yeah, as the guy who talked about Javelin for multiple segments in 2 of my Suicide Squad videos, it was fun to see him here, even if it was just for one scene. And Tim Robinson easily had the best cameo of the movie, but I'm not going to spoil it. ChipNDale Rescue Rangers is without doubt the biggest surprise of the year so far, taking on the role of an IP cameo-infused film without coming off as shameless, while also telling a fun meta story on the safe tactics of Hollywood today. It's honestly a miracle this film didn't fall into the IP commercial trap films like Space Jam: A New Legacy and Ralph Breaks the Internet fell into, and instead attempted to recreate the charm of films like Roger Rabbit. Do I think this film is as good as Roger Rabbit? Oh, of course not. That's one of the most iconic animated movies out there. I have to be crazy to say that. But I do think this was a solid, fun time that's worth checking out on Disneyplus, especially if you're a fan of the animation or the original 90s show. I mean, it's only 90 minutes and it's watchable at no extra cost, so it's not like it's going to waste your time and money. I'm giving Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers a 7 out of 10. So those were my thoughts on Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. What did you think of it? Were you a fan of the original show, and would you like to see more Rescue Rangers content after the film? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I've got Top Gun, Maverick, and Bob's Burgers movie reviews planned for next week, so you're definitely going to want to be sure to like the video and hit that subscribe button for those videos as well as any other upcoming reviews.
I was always more of an Alvin and the Chipmunks person.
You monster.